Hello and welcome to episode 77 of the Dragons Are Real podcast. I'm your host, Pete Jones. So in today's episode, I'm going to look at another OSR game. But first of all, let's get a couple of things out of the way. So the main thing is the old website has had a bit of a makeover. I've given it a nice new modern fresh look, and more importantly, it now works on all mobile devices, so mobiles, tablets, Chromebooks, you name it, it works on it, and so it looks a lot better. As always, the website address is petejones.neocities.org, and I've got all links on the website to all my different social media. Second thing I want to mention is with this, my audio podcasts get put up on YouTube. So for this episode, I'm going to try something a little different with a YouTube version. I'm going to put a slideshow in with the audio. So as we go through this podcast, you will see accompanying pictures. So you get a bit of a visual treat as well. And for any of those of you out there listening, especially for Eric Lamoureux, just to let you know, Eric, the Fantasy Flight forums are closing down. I know, it's a shock, isn't it? And I believe we've got a call in. So let's head over to Froth.
Hey, Mr. Jones, it is Froth here, and I wanted to send you a message. And first of all, just thank you very much for the shout out. That is much appreciated. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to let you know that I enjoyed the Maze Rats podcast. You have always had a great gift at being able to break down a game so clearly and succinctly to where anybody can understand it. And that is a skill that I do not have, so I appreciate that. One thing it got me thinking about was you mentioned the lethality of the game. And I'm thinking about doing a podcast about this, but increasingly, you hear everybody talk about, how do you handle death in your games? How do you handle it with your players? Like the players are sad to die. In a game like Maze Rats, I kind of don't mind dying. In fact, I wouldn't want to live for too long because it's fun to roll and create a new character and see what you get. But anyway, thanks again. Bye.
That's Froth from the Hump Day blog, RPG blog. As I mentioned last episode, nice to hear from Froth. Death in games. Personally, I'm of the opinion if there is no threat of death to the characters, what we're doing now, we're just storytelling. You've got to have some threat out of you, haven't you? And in a game like Maze Rats, it's dead easy to make a new character up. It might be something a bit different if you're playing something like Pathfinder 5e or Savage Worlds, which takes a bit longer, then it could be a bit of a downside. Mind you can always make up a couple of characters before the game starts, pick one, and then if you do lose one, you've got another one to step into. And with that, I think that's a brilliant segue on today's review, which is going to be Knave. Yes, so Knave, it's another rule set by Ben Milton, and this is a 7-page rules. It's $2.99 on DriveThruRPG as a PDF. And what's different between Knave and Maze Rats is Knave is compatible with all the OSR games. Yeah, that's right. If you've got any of your modules from any other OSR game, you can run it in Knave. The big difference with this and other OSR games is there are no classes in Knave. Everybody starts out as a poor old knave. Yes, that's it. What is the dice mechanic? Well, if it's D20 compatible, you've got it. You roll a D20, you add one of your 6 abilities, and you're trying to roll greater than a target number. And the target number is either 15 for most cases, or if you are going against another creature or another person or NPC, then you have to roll higher than the defense. And this is the main difference, is you roll greater than. So if something's got an armor class of 15, you have to roll greater than it. What other things are different about Knave? As I said, there's no classes, so everything is done with abilities. There is also a great option for player-facing roles, so instead of both the players and the GM making roles, if the GM wants to, it's up to you. You can get the players to do all their roles, so they roll to attack and they roll to defend. The other thing he's done is, instead of using gold, silver and copper, he's converted everything over to the copper standard, and he's tried to make it so that the prices are approximately equal to medieval prices. There is a list of 100 level less spells, so no fancy and magic here. And the great thing about Knave is it's a Creative Commons 4 license, so it's free to mess around, free to release your own material, even if you want to sell it, as long as you give Ben attribution. So let's get on to the first part, which is character creation. So you have your normal 6 abilities: Strength, Dex, Con, Intelligence, Wisdom and Charisma, and basically you roll 3d6 down the line for each of those, and the lowest of the 3 dice you roll, that is your bonus to that characteristic, that ability. So if you roll 2, 4 and 4, you're going to have +2 to that ability. Once you've done all 6 abilities, you can swap any of the 2 abilities between each other if you so wish to do so. And the other thing each ability has is, besides its bonus, you also have a defense, and basically the defense is 10 plus the bonus. So if you have a +2 bonus in intelligence, your defense will be 12. And I'll come to what the defenses do shortly. Each player starts with 2 days of rations and a weapon of their choice, and then you roll for gear. Encumbrance is nice and simple. It's a number of item slots equal to your constitution defense. Some items are more than 1 slot. Majority of items are 1 slot. And if you have a lot of small items, then you can bundle them together in a single slot. So that's nice and easy. All hit points are D8, whether it be for PCs or for monsters. Difference is that you do not add your constitution bonus to your starting hit points. You only add your con bonus when you're healing. And then on page 2, there is a nice bunch of tables, which are D20 tables, so you can roll for your physique, your face, your skin, your hair, clothing, virtue, dice, speech, background, misfortune, and alignment. And same for your starting gear. You've got armour, helmets and shields, dungeoning gear, general gear. So you can quickly bosh out a character, and you can pick your traits if you so wish, but I think it's a little bit more fun when you just randomly dice them. Then page 3 is a list of items from tools and gear, armour, weapons, food, ships, transport, etc. Weapons like a dagger or a cudgel are D6 damage. A spear, a sword, that sort of thing is D8 damage. A large warhammer, longsword is D10 damage. Playing the game. So it's the same as any old OSR game. You're rolling a D20, add your bonus, and you're trying to beat the difficulty number, which is 15, or you're trying to roll against the defense. Everybody starts off with armor, and your armor starts at 10, and if you're wearing no armor at all, your armor defense bonus is +1, so your armor will be 11. If you're wearing other armor, then that would add to that, and again, you're rolling higher than the armor value. If you beat the armor value, then you roll your damage. There is an advantage and disadvantage mechanic, which basically you roll 2d20 and take either the best or the worst result, depending whether you're rolling for advantage or disadvantage. So the 6 abilities. We have strength, which is, as always, used for melee attacks and is used for saves requiring physical power. Dexterity is used for saves requiring poise, speed and reflexes, things like dodging and climbing, that sort of thing. Constitution is used to save to resist against poison, sickness, etc. and is also added to healing rolls only. And the defense of Constitution is the number of item slots that each character can have. Intelligence is used for saves requiring concentration and precision. And this is a slight difference. Its wisdom is used for range attacks, as well as saves requiring perception and constitution. And charisma is used for saving to persuade, deceive, interrogate, or intimidate. And the reason that he's changed wisdom to ranged is because the game so heavily relies on the 6 abilities, it's important for each of them to have a role, and there is no dump stat. And without clerics, then wisdom could be a dump stat. So I quite like that. The wiser you are, it increases your ranged attacks. In a combat, instead of each side rolling a d6 for advantage on each player, basically you roll 1d6. On a 1, 2, 3, all the enemies deal attack first. On a 4 to 6, the PCs act first, and you reroll initiative each round. And this allows the PCs to get together when it's their turn and try and play to their advantages and their strengths and make sure they go in the right order. What it also means is sometimes that as players you can go twice in succession, or that maybe the monsters will go twice, so there's that bit of uncertainty. So when you're doing attack, you would use your strength or wisdom bonus, add it to a d20, and roll greater than the defender's armour. And then if it attacks, then you roll your damage. If you're using the player-facing rolls, the way you would do this is the defender would roll a d20, add their armour bonus, and try and roll greater than the defense of the ability the attacker is using. So you roll your up to armor bonus against either strength or wisdom. He's added something called stunts, and basically these are non-damaging traits or combat maneuvers that you can do, such things as stunning someone. So if you want to sort of knock someone out, that sort of thing, you want to disarm them. And basically the way that you do that is you do it with a save roll against the opposition, and obviously you're not causing damage. Combat, if you want to use advantage, you've got two choices. Basically, you get advantage for things like if the target is unaware, so you're sneaking up behind them, they're on lower ground, they're off balance, and basically there's two things you may do. You can apply advantage to your attack roll, or to the stunt against opponent, or you make an attack and a stunt attempt in the same round, but without advantage. Critical hits. So if you roll a natural 20 where you're attacking, or if you're using the alternative when you're defending and you roll a 1, then you get a critical hit against you. And basically you lose 1 point of quality in your armour. And armour starts off with a number of points of quality. So for example, a shield or helmet is 1 quality, up to half plate is a 6 quality. So you would lose a point of quality on a crit, and that also means that when you get down to 0 quality, then your armour is kaput, and you don't get the benefit of it anymore, so it counts as if you're not wearing it, and it costs you coins to repair the damage to your armour. 10% per point of quality damaged to repair it, which is a nice little tweak to the rules. I quite like that. Morale is your normal 2d6 morale, because in a lot of the old BX games and the OSR games, you've got morale ratings for monsters, so that's no change. Healing, you gain hit points lost equal to a d8 plus your constitution bonus overnight. Are you resting at a safe phase and you get all your HP back? And your monsters, you can just take them straight out of your OSR books. All hit dice are considered to be d8s. Their armour is already in the sheets when you get them from, whether you get them from BX, from the Black Hack or whatever, Labyrinth Lord, doesn't matter. And your attack bonus, if the rules that you're pinching from doesn't have an attack bonus, then you just use the hit dice. So a 3 hit dice creature would be on +3, and all the defences would be 13. He's simplified advancement, so when a PC accumulates 1000 XP, you gain a level. And he gives some examples of what you get XP for. For example, 50 XP for low risk, up to 200 for a high risk accomplishment. And then when you gain a level, you re-roll all your d8 for your hit dice and record your new HP maximum. So from level 3, you would roll all 3 of your d8 again. If the result is less than your current HP, then you just increase it by 1. Otherwise, you increase it by the new amount rolled. And then you get to increase 3 of your abilities, and you add +1 to 3 of your abilities, which also increases their defense bonus as well for each level. And the maximum you can have on any one ability is +10. Magic. As I said, there's no advancing magic here. You can use spell lists from your OSR games if you wish to, as long as those games go up to 9th level. Basically, a PC can cast spells of their level or less. So a level 3 PC can cast spells of level 1, 2 and 3. It's something that I've always wondered about myself. Why, when you're level 4, can you not cast level 4 spells? You can only cast level 1, 2, and maybe one level 3 spell. So this is a way of doing it. And each spell is in its own spell book, and a spell book takes up 1 slot Oh, yes. So you're not going to be carrying around hundreds of spells. And as you've already guessed, there's no classes, there are no magicians, so everybody can cast spells if they wish to do so. As PCs, you're not able to create, copy, or transcribe spell books in order to gain new spellbook levels. So you've got to go adventuring for these spells and find them. And then we've got 100 level spells, and each spell is a one-line description. So I'll give you some examples. So the spell of deafen, all nearby creatures are deafened. And it's up to you as the GM and the player to work out what it means. Some spells have a description which includes your level. So, for example, filch, level visible items teleport to your hands, and that's the level of the caster. So, as a level 5 caster, 5 visible items can teleport to your hands. And a lot of these spells do this. They might have a range of your level times 10 foot. So again, I like this. The higher you are, the better you are. So that is Knave in a nutshell. It's a nice, simple game, a classless game. Again, it's going to be quite a deadly game, but this is an OSR game. So this is what the whole game is designed about. And the beauty of Knave is because it's a Creative Commons license, you can get some hacks for it. And I'm going to talk now about some hacks out there that you may want to consider. The first hack is from the Buildings Are People blog. And this is a Knave mini review. It's got some hacks, additions and other resources. And there's a ton of stuff on here. There's things like hunting, starvations, conditions. If you want to add things like fatigue, soak, cold, exhaustion, changes to the currency, initiative, haggling, different types of stunts. There's this XP, and even adds in things like class options, races, and there's absolute tons of stuff on there. So check that one out, and I'll leave a link in the show notes. Next up is Knave++, and this is someone's own hack of Knave. And to be fair, they've taken a lot of this stuff from the previous mentioned hacks and add-ons. So that's Knave++, that's free. Check that one out. The next hack is called Rogueland. This one's just recently come out. It's $4.99 as a PDF. And this adds extra things to the Knave rules. It defines characters by the items they carry, interprets and casts free-form magic, alters things like monsters, traps and treasure generation, and gives some exploration procedures. So that's Rogueland. Another one out there is called Grave, which is name your own price. It's a Souls-like RPG, and it introduces new rules for death and resurrection, a stamina currency for spells and maneuvers, 50 magic items, 60 level spells across 3 traditions, but it's compatible with the OSR. Then we have the Bone Marshes, which is either $10 as a PDF or $15 softcover. And this is a sort of a setting for Knave, but includes the Knave rules, or the majority of the Knave rules. So you can just pick up that book. And if you check out the Questing Beast YouTube channel, Ben Milton has done a review of Bone Marshes, so you can actually have a look through that book and see it right up your street. And the final one, which is one I've only just found, is called Cuff, which is KUF. It's $9.99. It's a Swedish RPG based on Knave. I believe it originally was a Swedish RPG, and they've recently translated it to English. And it's a horror setting, and it's really very nicely done. It adds some new damage mechanics, so you can have stun damage, light damage, critical damage and permanent damage. It also adds a new mechanic for sanity, but it does stay pretty core to the Knave rules. So I really like Cuff. That's currently my favourite one, and that's set as a modern day setting as well. They've set it in Sweden, but it can be set anywhere, and it does things like your intelligence bonus is how many languages you can speak besides your own language. Being set in Sweden, weapons are quite hard to come by, so the costs are quite expensive. So if you like a sort of a fancy modern horror game, then I can highly recommend it, Cuff. And when I was sort of doing the research for Knave, I thought, do you know what? I think Knave would do very well for something like DCC type games. But how would you do a level 0 character? And then I thought, It's easy for level 0 character. You don't give them any bonuses on their attributes. The hit points could be a D4. Take 5 characters each, and the one that survives becomes your level 1 adventurer. And then it's at that point you can roll for their attributes and all that other stuff. So there you are. There's a free tip from me. So I hope you enjoyed my review from Knave. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed that review of Knave. I can highly recommend it. It's a nice, simple game. Check it out. And it's not too expensive. And if you do a little bit of digging, you can find free versions of it out there as well. There's an SRD. Someone else has done a nice, really posh tart up of it. So if you hunt around, you can find free versions as well, if you don't want to pay your spondoolies. And then some people have even done like 2-page reference sheets, which include all the rules with also the designer notes. So use a bit of your Google foo. Remember, check out the website at petejones.neocities.org. You can send me an email at dragonsarealpodcast@pm.me. If you want to send me a voice message, then use the Anchor app. And finally, there's the blog at dragonsarealpodcast.tumblr.com. That's all for me for this episode. I'll see you all on the flip side.